you ordered pizza. Then we'll just add else if x.get is equal to 1. We will print you ordered a hamburger. And then else if 2, you ordered a hot dog. Else print So there's probably a more efficient way to write this. However, I was just feeling lazy, and this is probably the best way to keep this simple and easy to understand. So let's try this now. Oh, however, we need to set the command for our radio buttons. So command equals then the function name, which is order. And make sure you do not add the parentheses. So don't do this, do that. And this will set command of radio button to function. All right, let's test this. So if we click on pizza, it says you ordered pizza, you ordered a hamburger, and you ordered a hot dog. Okay, everybody, so that's the basics of radio buttons. If you would like a copy of all this code, I'll post all of this in the comments down below. But yeah, that's the basics of radio buttons in Python. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your bro here. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how we can create a sliding scale in Python. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's create a scale. So we'll need a window. Window equals tk, followed by window.mainLoop. We'll create a scale called scale. Scale equals scale. We need to add the scale to our window, so we'll put that here. We can list a from position and a to position. Both of these values will be our range of values that we can use for our scale. So from, make sure to add an underscore after from. It won't work without this underscore. From equals, let's say 0, and to equals 100. So we're going to create a scale for temperature, and this will be in Celsius. So 0 will be freezing, and 100 will be the boiling point, for water. So then to display the scale, we'll need to add scale.pack. And let's run this. So the from position is 0, so that's at the top here. And then if you go down, it increases. So you can actually flip this. So we'll say from 100 and 2 will be 0. So now you can scroll up and the number will increase. Let's also get the current value. So we'll need a button. So button equals button. We'll add this to the window. We'll add some text. Text equals submit. And then a command. Command equals submit, but we'll have to make this function. So let's do that outside the window. def submit. And we will simply print the current temperature. So let's display a message. The temperature is plus scale.get plus degrees Celsius. We can just say degrees C. So let's try this, but we also have to pack the button. So button.pack. So if we were to try and submit this, right now scale.get is going to return an integer, so we need to convert this to a string. So str scale.get, and you have to do that with Python if you're displaying a integer value along with another string. You need to convert it to a string. So now this should work. So it is 82 degrees Celsius. So let's do some cosmetic changes for our temperature gauge, because right now it's kind of ugly. So the first thing we'll change is, let's say the length. So length equals 600. So that should be fairly large. You can also set the orientation. So that is orient, spelt like that. So this can either be vertical, which it currently is, or horizontal. But I'll keep this as vertical. So I'll add a comment that this is orientation of scale. Let's also change the font. So font equals, pick whatever font you want, and a size. So maybe 20. Now you can add some tick intervals. Maybe I'll set this to 10. So these will be numeric indicators on the scale. And show value, this hides the current value. So if you set this to 0, this will hide current value. So it no longer displays what the current value is next to the slider. To actually retrieve it, you'd have to get the value. So right now it's 40, but it helps that you have the tick intervals on the left-hand side. I should probably add that this adds numeric indicators for value. Good enough. Let's continue on. Now let's use the set function. We can set the current value of the knob on our scale, and by default it is 0. So we can use the scale.set function, and we can place a number in here, a value. So let's say we want this to be 100. So this is now at the 100 position instead of 0. If we wanted this in the middle, we could set this to 50. And now it's in the middle. However, if you change the range of your scale from -2 and set this to 50, now 50 is all the way down here, so it no longer appears in the middle. So this isn't really necessary, but if you want this to be a little more sophisticated, there's actually a formula that you could use. We can use scale, straight braces, and then place the word from within here. This will give us our max, basically. So this is from without an underscore. So this, not this, this. Scale from minus scale to. And then we're going to divide this by 2. And then I'm just going to put this within a extra set of parentheses. Plus scale to. Just in case our 2 value is greater than 0. We just want to account for that. And then I'm just going to put these within another set of parentheses. So this should always appear in the middle then, even if we were to change this range. Yeah, it seems like it works. Like I said, it's not really necessary, but if you want this to be a little more sophisticated, that would work. Now let's make some cosmetic changes to this scale and make it look pretty. So first, let's change the trough color. This is this gray portion right here. So let's set the trough color equals whatever color you want. You could say like blue, or you can place a hex value here. And I actually picked one out already. So I'm going to use 69EAFF. And that is this icy blue color, kind of like this is sliding on ice. And I'm also going to change the font color. And I'm going to pick this fiery red color to symbolize heat. And then you can change the background color too. So that is BG. And I'll just set this to like black. It's looking kind of cool now, right? And for no good reason, I'm going to add some pictures. So feel free to pause the video if you'd like to download some images. I'm going to use an image of a flame for the hot side of our scale and a snowflake for the cold side. So let's begin by adding the hot image to the scale before we actually add the scale to the window. So we'll do this after we instantiate the window, because that's the only place that we can do that. So we're going to create an image. I'll just call this hot image for the fire icon. So hot image equals photo image file equals, this is hot.png. So hot.png, we're going to add the image to a label. I'll call this hot label. Hot label, label, image equals hot image. And then we need to pack this. So hot label dot pack. And this should appear at the top. Let's test it. Yep, there it is. Let's do the same thing for the cold side. So I'll add this here before the button. And I'm going to replace hot with cold. Same thing with the file name, cold.png. This will be cold label, cold image, and cold label.pack. And that should be it. Let's take a look. Not too shabby. It's looking pretty sweet. It has our submit button at the bottom too. So right now the temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. The temperature is 0 degrees Celsius. The temperature is 60 degrees Celsius. Well, that's how to create a scale in Python. If you would like a copy of all this code, I'll post all of this in the comments down below. But yeah, that's how to create a scale in Python. Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your bro here. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how we can create a list box in Python. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Alright, you wonderful people, let's create a list box. A list box is a listing of selectable text items within its own container. So as always, we'll need a window. Window equals tk, followed by window.main loop. Let's create a list box simply called list box. Big surprise there, right? So list box equals list box. What are we adding this list box to? We're going to place that here within the parentheses of the constructor. We're adding this to our window. And then we're going to follow this with listbox.pack. You can also do listbox.place as well and place some coordinates, but we've always done pack. Let's just stick with that for now. All right, so this is what our list box looks like. It's a small rectangular box, and we're going to add some text items that are selectable, and eventually we'll be able to submit a choice. So I have an idea. Let's create an online menu like we're ordering food from a restaurant. Let's say it's Bro's Italian restaurant. So let's add some food items to our menu and somebody can submit an order. So we'll need to use the insert function of the list box to add some items. So listbox.insert. We place an index and a text item. So let's say for index 1, we'll have pizza. And this is what we end up with. We have the item pizza, it's selectable. And, well, that's really it. We'll need to create a submit button and populate the rest of this list box. So let's add a few other items for our menu. So let's say we'll have 5 items. And we need an index for each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have pizza for the first item. For the second item, let's have pasta. And third, let's say garlic bread because garlic bread is awesome. And restaurants usually have appetizers, so why not soup and salad? And that should be enough for this example. And this is what we have. We have our menu, and we can select an item from this menu. So let's customize the appearance of this menu, well, because we can. So let's do that. Let's change the background color. So we do that with the option BG for background, and you can set this equal to a color of your choice or a hex value. So I have a hex color value already picked out. It is F7FFDE, and this has the appearance of, I would say, paper, like it's kind of faded. I think that would fit some sort of menu for a restaurant, but pick whatever background color you want. So let's change the font next. So we can do that with the option font, and I will pick the font Constantia. It's somewhat fancy. I think it would fit like a restaurant menu. And then a size of 35. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. We can also change the width and the height. So width equals, let's say 12. That's not too bad for a width. Let's also change the height. So we can do that with a function of our list box. So let's get the current size of the list box. And let's actually do that after we insert all of the items within our list box. So to change the size of our list box, what we do is type in listbox.config. You usually use config if you need to change any options. And we want to change the length of, or the height of this list box. So we're going to say height equals listbox dot size function. So then this will adjust the size of our list box dynamically. Even if we were to remove an item, then the size of our list box is going to shrink. Just like that. But let's keep salad in there for now because we need salad. All right, so how do we actually submit one of these options? We'll need to create a submit button. So let's do that after we create our list box. So near the bottom, we'll call this submit button. Submit button equals button. We're adding this to our window. Let's set the text to submit, and we'll need a command. So we'll create a function called submit. And then we need to pack this submit button. Submit button dot pack. Now at the top of this program, let's create a submit function. So at the top, def submit. So to retrieve or get the current selected item of a list box, there is a certain function that you can use. So we'll begin by saying listbox.get. What are we getting? We want to get anything that is currently selected, and there is a function for that. So what we're going to do within the parentheses of the get function is type in listbox.current selection. It's shortened to CUR selection. All right, and then we can either store this within a variable or we can just print this, but I think we'll just print this to keep it simple. Now, when we select an item and click on the submit button, it's going to submit our order. Actually, better yet, let's actually print you have ordered whatever item that we select. So garlic bread. You have ordered garlic bread. Cool. What we're going to work on now is a way to submit or insert an item to our list box after this program is compiled and already running. So we'll create an entry box within our window where we can submit a custom item to this menu. So let's create an entry box, and let's do that before the submit button. That would be a good spot for this. So let's call this entry box where somebody can type in something to add to the menu. So entry box equals entry, and we're adding this to our window, and then entry box dot pack. Then we're going to create a button called add, and I'm just going to copy everything from the submit button, and we'll change submit to add. We're going to add an item to the menu. So we'll change the text to add and command add. Add button dot pack. Then we're going to create a function called add, and we'll do that at the top. Def add parentheses colon. So to add an item to the list box, first we need to get what is currently in the entry box. So we can do that by typing in listbox.insert. Then within the parentheses, we need to get an index number as well as a text item. So for the number, what we can type here is the listbox.size. So this will give us the current position of the index that we're currently on for the list box. And then we need to get the text in the entry box. So we type in the name of the entry box dot.get. And this will insert a new item within our menu, our list box. So let's try it again. So we can type in an item, let's say soda. We want to add soda to the menu, and then we click add. All right, there's our soda, but we have to scroll down to see it. So let's change the size of our list box. So there's actually a line of code that we did that already. Listbox.config height equals listbox size. So let's add that within the add function at the very end. So then the height of our list box will adjust. So currently there's no soda within our menu. Let's type in soda or some other item, click add, and then that item will appear and the size of the list box will change to accommodate any new items. Let's say now that we serve sushi, we're now an Italian and Japanese restaurant. Now we have sushi on the menu. You know what? Why stop there? Let's create a delete button to delete an item from this menu. So we'll create a delete button. I'll just copy everything for add and change this to delete. So delete button, text equals delete, command equals delete as well, and delete button dot pack. And then at the very top, we'll create a delete function. So we'll do that here. DEF, delete. And to delete an item from a list box, there's actually a function to do that. So listbox.delete. And then within the parentheses of the delete function, we can pass in listbox.currentSelection, or just CUR selection for short. And then we want to readjust the height of this list box after we delete an item. So we'll just add listbox.config, height equals listbox.size, because the size of all the items within the list box is going to shrink after we delete an item. So let's try this. So here's our menu. Let's say we no longer want salad because salad is healthy. Well, we can delete it. Same thing with soup. And you know what? Let's also delete the pasta and the pizza. So we're only left with sweet garlic bread. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into some more advanced stuff with list boxes. What if you want to select more than one item from this list box? We're going to need to change a few things. So when we create our list box, there is a select mode, and we are going to set this equal to multiple. So now we can actually select multiple items from this list box. Like, I want to select one of everything, but what happens when we submit this? Well, we're going to run into some problems, so we're going to need to change this program around. So let's begin with the submit option. So what we're going to do within the submit option is first get rid of this line. Let's say we no longer need this anymore. And then, before we print out the items that we ordered, let's create a list called food. And we'll just leave this empty for now, and we'll fill this later. So we'll create a for loop for index in listbox.currentSelection. What we're going to do after each iteration, food.insert our index number, as well as listbox.get the item name at this index. What this for loop is doing is that it's going to iterate once for each item that we select. So since we have 3 items that are currently selected, this is going to iterate 3 times, get the index number as well as the item at that index number. And now we just need to display the contents of what we have within our list of food. So we can do that with another for loop. So let's add that after you have ordered, then for index in our list food. All we'll do is print index. So this will print out everything that we ordered. So let's say that we want one of everything and submit this. You have ordered pizza, pasta, garlic bread, soup, and salad. Now, what happens if we try to delete multiple items? So let's say we want to delete soup and salad, and we click delete. Well, we're going to run into an error because our function is not set up to accommodate for multiple items. So we'll need to change a few things around. So let's get rid of this line for now, listbox.delete, listbox.currentSelection, and we're going to place a for loop here. So for index in listbox.currentSelection. Then after each iteration, what we're going to do is use listbox.delete, and we're deleting the item at whatever index we're currently on. So you would think this would work at first glance. Let's say we want to delete pizza and pasta. We're going to click delete. So pizza was deleted, but not pasta. That's because the indexes are changing after we delete an item. So when we use this for loop, we should actually reverse this. So with listbox.currentSelection, we are going to enclose this with reversed. So then we're going to start at the last index and work our way to 0 in that order. So now if we want to delete pizza and pasta, I don't know why we would because they're amazing, and we click delete, it deletes pizza and pasta, but we still have garlic bread, soup, and salad. Then we can add an item. Let's say we want to add sushi again to the menu. We can do that, and then we can order one of everything because we're really hungry. You have ordered garlic bread, soup, salad, and sushi. So that's the basics of creating a list box in Python. If you want a copy of all this code, I'll post all of this in the comments down below. But yeah, that's the basics of list boxes in Python. Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your bro here. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how we can create message boxes in Python. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay people, let's create some message boxes, but first we'll need an import. So from tkinter, import message box. And what this will do is import the message box library. So it's not necessary to add this comment. So we'll need a window. Window equals tk, followed by window.main loop. Let's create a button. So button equals button. We're going to add this to the window. We're going to set the command to execute a click function that will have a message box appear when we click on the button. And let's set the text. So text equals click me. And then we will need to pack this button. So button.pack. Now we'll need to create a click function. So let's do that at the top. def click. And what do we want to do? So there's a few different message dialog boxes that you can use. So let's begin with a basic show info message box. So message box dot, and there's a few options. Let's begin with show info. Show info. This just displays a simple message. So if we were to run this, we have a button, we click on the button, and it's going to create a message box for us. And it just shows some info, but we don't really have any info to show yet. So we can set a title, and we can set a message. So let's set the title. Title equals, this is an info message box. Although part of the title got cut off. Let's also set the message. Message equals, you are a person. Click me. You are a person. Thanks, I didn't know that. So there's a few other message boxes that we can use too. So for now, I'm just going to turn this into a comment. And I'll just copy this just to save some time. And the next one that we have is show warning. So this will have a different icon. So the title, let's say warning, and the message, you have a virus. So now we get this annoying warning message, but you can just click OK to get rid of it. So one thing that you might see with tech support scams, they'll have a message box like this that shows a warning, but they'll put this within a while loop that's set to true. So this will just continue on and on. Kind of like this. So if we were to try and close out of this, it's just going to reappear. While true is true, basically. So that's just something funny that I wanted to show you. So let's move on. I'm going to turn this into a comment. Then the next one we have is show error. So show error. Title, set it to whatever you want. Error. Message, something went wrong. There's a few more sophisticated ones too. We can ask for some user input. So this next one is message box dot ask, and there's a few to choose from. Let's go with ask okay, cancel first. We'll set the title. Title equals ask, okay, cancel. And a message. Message. Do you want to do the thing? So we can actually put this within an if statement. So this returns either true or false depending on what you click. So let's put this within an if statement. If this is true, print, you did a thing. If it returns false, we can use an else statement. Else, what else do we want to do? We'll say else, print, you canceled a thing. And let's test this. But I am forgetting a colon. There. Do you want to do the thing? Okay, you did a thing. Let's try it again. Do you want to do the thing? Cancel, you canceled a thing. Cool, there's a few others. So I'll turn all of these into comments. And the next one we can go over is ask, retry, cancel. And this is fairly similar to what we had before. I'm going to copy this. Let's change this to ask, retry, cancel. Ask, retry, cancel. Do you want to retry the thing? You retried a thing. Or you canceled a thing. So it's very similar to what we had before. Do you want to retry the thing? Retry. You retried a thing. And cancel. You canceled a thing. Okay, the next one we have is ask, yes, no. So we can get some user input if it's a yes or a no. So this returns a Boolean value, a true or false value. So message box dot ask yes no. And we'll set the title. Title equals ask yes or no. And a message. Do you like cake? So let's put this within an if statement because this returns a true or false answer. Print, I like cake too. Else, they answered no then if this is false. Print, why do you not like cake? And I'm missing a colon. There we go. So if they click yes, this returns true, and we execute this line of code, I like cake too. If they answer no, it's going to execute this else statement. Do you like cake? No. Why do you not like cake? Now what we have next is ask question, and this doesn't return a Boolean value of true or false. It actually returns a string of yes or no. So this is message box dot ask question, and we'll set the title to ask question and a message. Message equals do you like pie? So let's just print the result, what this returns. So print everything within here. So like I said, this doesn't return true or false, but yes or no. So what we could do is assign the response to a variable such as answer. So answer equals whatever the answer is, whatever they click, whatever button they click on. So if our answer is equal to yes, we'll print a message, print I like pie too. Then else, the answer is no. we'll print, why do you not like pie? So, do you like pie? Yes, I like pie too. Do you like pie? No. Why do you not like pie? So, this next one is probably the most difficult. It's ask, yes, no, cancel. So, it's message box dot ask, yes, no, cancel. It's this last one. So, let's set the title. Title equals whatever you want. Yes, no, cancel. And a message. Message equals, do you like to code? So let's just print the results, what this returns. So print everything, just so we can take a look. So the possible answers are true, false, or none. So we can just run some if statements for this. So if answer is equal to true, what we can do is print you like to code. Oh, but we need to assign this to an answer. So answer equals all of this. Else if answer is equal to false, let's print, then why are you watching a video on coding? And then else, the response is none, so we can just use an else statement. So else, you have dodged the question. Okay, let's try this. Do you like to code? Yes, you like to code. But this should really be a smiley face, right? Do you like to code? No. Then why are you watching a video on coding? Do you like to code? Cancel. You have dodged the question. Now, one other option available to you is that you can change the icon that you're using. So let's say that we want to change this icon. So right now it is currently this question mark. So we can set this to one of a few preset icons. So icon equals, and let's set this to warning. So instead of that question mark, we get this yellow exclamation point, and you can also use info, it's just an I, and error. So do what fits best for you. All right, well, that's the basics on message boxes in Python. If you would like a copy of all this code, I'll post all of this in the comments down below. But yeah, that's the basics of message boxes in Python. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your bro here. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, I'm going to teach you guys about the color chooser module in Python. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, everybody, so before we begin, we'll need a second import. So let's add this at the top. So from tkinter, import, color, chooser. And the reason that we need a second import, and it's not included with this first import, is because this is a sub module. It's not necessary to add this comment. I just like to add comments for teaching purposes. So make sure you have these two imports before we begin. Now we'll need a window and a button that we can add to the window, and when we click on the button, we're going to select a color and change the background color of the window. So let's create a window. Window equals tk, followed by window.main_loop. And then let's set the geometry. So we're going to change the background color of the window after we select a color. So let's select a fairly large size for a window, maybe 420 by 420. So this is the width and the height. And then let's create a button. So button equals button. Let's set some text. Text equals click me. And we're going to set a command for this button that is called. So we're going to create a function maybe called click. And then we just need to pack this button so we can add this to the window. So button.pack. Now we're going to need to create a function and we'll call it click. So when we click on the button, this function is going to be called. So def click, and what do we want to do after clicking this button? What we're going to do is take color chooser, and we're going to use the ask color function. So currently this is what this does. We can select a color after clicking this button and pick whatever color you want, then you hit OK. However, we need to store this color within, let's say, a variable, so we'll create a variable called color. Color equals colorChooser.askColor, and then we can do something with this color. But for now, let's just print this color just to take a look to see what it contains. So print color. So let's say that I want this green color. Click OK. This is what this prints. This is our color. So this is the RGB values that we have in this first element. So this is the amount of red, then green, and then blue. And the second element is the hexadecimal representation of these values. So what we want is this hexadecimal value. So what we could do is create a second variable to store this. So let's just call this color hex. Color hex equals color, and we're going to get the first element. Well, technically it's the second element, but it's the element at position 1, so this one. This is 0, index 0. So we're going to basically extract this hexadecimal value, and let's just print this just to be sure that it's working fine. So print color hex. And let's try this again, but select a different color. Maybe I want this purple color, then click OK. So this is CB4 to FF, and here we have CB4 to FF. Now let's change the background color. So since we have this hex value, that's actually fairly simple. So we're going to take window.config bg for background color equals color hex. And this will change background color. And let's set this to a sky blue color, maybe like this. Click OK, and it changes the color. However, it's not really necessary to continue printing these values. You can take these out if you want. And this would work like just the same then. Now, this part isn't necessary, but if you want, you can condense these 3 lines of code that we have for our click function into less lines of code. So what you could do, instead of assigning the value of color at index 1 to a separate variable, we can take color at index 1, get rid of this line, and assign bg equals color at index 1. So now this is done with just 2 lines of code. And why stop there? We can write this with just 1 line of code. So now we're going to take colorChooser.askColor, get rid of this line, bg equals colorChooser.askColor at index 1. And now this is done with just 1 line of code. However, it's I would say a little more difficult to teach. So that's why I kind of like to separate this line by line. So if you want, you can condense all of this into just 1 line of code. So here's some ideas of where the color chooser submodule could be helpful. So of course you can change the background color too, but let's say that you're creating a game and you can customize your character or avatar. Well, it would be kind of nice if you could have some way for the user to actually change maybe the character's hair color, eye color. Something like this would actually work fairly well. So yeah, that's the basics of Color Chooser. If you would like a copy of all this code, I'll post this in the comments down below. But that's the basics of Color Chooser in Python. Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your bro here. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how we can create a text area in Python. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Alright, my fellow bros, let's discuss the text widget. This functions like a text area. You can enter multiple lines of text. I'm not sure why it's called a text widget instead of a text area widget. Text area would make more sense, but IDK though. So let's begin by creating a window. Window equals tk, followed by window.mainLoop. So to create a text widget, also known as a text area, let's call this text. Text equals text. And we're going to add this text to our window, and then we need to pack this text. Text.pack. So we should have a text area, and you can enter in stuff like this. All right, but what good is a text area if you can't actually submit some text? So let's create a button to do that for us. So button equals button. We're going to add this button to the window, and button.pack. So we need a command for this button and a function as well. So let's create a function called submit. It's going to be a submit button. And let's change the text too, because we can. Text equals submit. Cool. Now let's create a function called submit, and we'll do this at the top. def submit. And what is this going to do? Well, it's going to get the text from the text area. And let's assign this to a variable, and we can call this maybe input or whatever you want. So to get the text from the text area, let's say text, that's the name of this text area, dot get. But we need a starting index as well as an ending index. So we're going to place 1.0 here for the beginning index. This is the first line. We want to get everything. So for the second index, we can just put end. Then we can do anything we want with this input. So let's just print this to the console window. So print input, and this should work. Hey you, drink plenty of water. Love you. And click submit. And then you can do whatever you want with this input. Well, that's how a text area functions, but now let's customize the appearance of this text area, and I have a few ideas that you might be interested in. So let's change the background color of this text area. So BG equals, and I will pick light yellow, and you will see why in just a second. So now this text area kind of resembles maybe a piece of paper, a notebook, a post-it note. However, this font is really small. So let's change the font styling and the font size. So font equals, and I will pick the font ink free. This somewhat resembles handwriting, so I kind of like this, and it kind of fits our notebook theme. And then a size, maybe 25. One thing you should know, the text area size corresponds directly with the font size. So 25 is a fairly large font. So if we were to compile this and run this, the size of our text area is now massive because it corresponds directly with the font size. So we might want to limit the width and the height. So the height is the amount of characters that this is tall. So let's say 8. And the width is the amount of characters that this is long. And let's say 20. And now this should be much smaller, and it kind of resembles a post-it note, which is kind of cool. Let's also change the amount of padding that we have. We can do that with pad X and pad Y. So pad X, let's say 20, and pad Y, also 20. So the text shouldn't actually touch any of the borders. This is some sample text. Cool. Let's finish this by changing the font color, so that is FG for foreground. Foreground equals, and I'll pick purple because purple is a pretty color. And let's run this one last time. Roses are red. Violets are blue. Booty, 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 booty. Rockin' everywhere. Well, that's the basics of the text widget in Python. If you would like a copy of all this code, I'll post all of this in the comments down below. But yeah, that's the basics of the text widget in Python. Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your bro here. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how we can use file dialog in Python to open and read the contents of a file. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, people, so this is how you can use file dialog to open and read the contents of a file. But first, we'll need a second import along with this import at the top. So what we're going to be importing is from tk enter import file dialog. And then we'll need a window like what we usually do. So window equals tk followed by window.main loop. Now we'll need a button that we're going to add to the window, and when we click on this button, it's going to launch our file dialog so we can select a file. So we'll call this button button equals button. Let's set some text, maybe to just open, like we're opening a file, and we'll associate a function to our command for this button. So let's create a function called open file. That's fine. And then we need to pack this button so we can add it to the screen. So button.pack. Now we need to create a function called openFile, and we'll do this before we create our window. Let's type def open file. And when we call this function, we're going to take file dialog and use the ask open file name function. So this is going to return a string, and that string is the file path of where your file is located. So what we could do is store this within a variable. So let's store this within a variable called file path. And to test this, let's just print this, just to take a look at the contents of this variable. So let's just print the file path. Now I have a file on my desktop that I want to use called test file. So let's click the open button. And this might not necessarily bring you to your desktop. It might bring you someplace else within your file directory. So this just happens to bring me to my desktop. So I'm going to click the test file that I have and click open. So this prints the file path. So it's going to return a string, and it's the file path basically. So now we want to open and read the contents of this file. So we don't really need this print line anymore. So what we'll do is create a file variable, and we're going to use open. We're going to list the file path, and then we're going to use R for read. So the default is normally RT for read text, otherwise you can read binary, but we can just set this to R. R is the same as RT basically. So then we're going to open this file, and then we're going to read it. So let's just print this to the console window. So print the name of the file, which is file, where this is located, file dot read function. And then it's a good idea to close your files after you're done with them. So file dot close. And let's test this. So I'm going to click open, find the file that I want, click it, and then open. And that text file says, my name is bro, I like pizza. Now let's say you want to make this a little more advanced. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to set the initial directory of where we begin looking for a file when we launch our file dialog. So with that test file, I'm going to move this to my project folder. So I'm just going to paste it. So now this is within my project folder. Now I'm going to set the initial directory within the function of ask open file name. So we're going to set the initial dir for initial directory, and then we can list a file path. So one thing you could do, I want to get this path here, this file path. So if you're using PyCharm, what you could do is right click this, copy path, and then get the absolute path. And then I'm just going to paste this. And then with these backslashes, you'll have to do double backslashes because this is the escape character for a backslash. All right, so this should open my project folder, which it does. And here's that test file. Another thing we could do is that we can change the title of our file dialog. Right now, the default is just open, so we can change that to something else. So I'm going to add a comma, maybe put this on a different line. So this is still within the function of ask open file name. So I'm going to set the title to something else. I'll say open file. Okay. So if we were to run this again, instead of just saying open, it says open file, okay? And we can also limit the file types that we accept and look for. So we can use file types. So let's say that we want to initially look for a txt file. So what we'll do is type in like a name for the file that we're looking for. So this is what's going to appear to the user. Text files followed by an extension. So we want *.txt. And then we can also have an option for all files. So I'm going to add a comma for a second option. And then let's say all files. And then an extension. So comma, *.*. This will look for all files. But I think I am missing a parenthesis. There, that should be good. So then when we open our file dialog, it's going to initially be looking for plain text files, and with this drop-down menu, it says text files and all files. So that's what we have listed within our file types of what we want to search for. So you can see that if I switch to all files, our Python file actually appears because we don't have any limits on the files that we're trying to open or search for. So if I change this back to text files, only folders and plain text files are visible. So then we can open our test file again. But yeah, that's the basics of file dialog. In the next video, we're going to be saving a file. So if you'd like a copy of all this code, I'll post all of this in the comments down below. But yeah, that's the basics of opening a file using Python. Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your bro here. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how we can use Python's file dialog to save a file someplace on your computer. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay everybody, so this is how we can save a file. We're going to be reusing file dialog again, kind of like what we did with the video on opening and reading a file. So from tkinter import file dialog, we're going to be creating a window and adding a button as well as a text area to this window. So let's create our window. Window equals tk followed by window.main loop. Let's create a button. So button equals button. Let's set the text of the button. So text equals save. It's going to be a save button and then a command. So we'll need to link a function to this command. So let's create a save file function. And then we need to pack this button. So button.pack. Now let's create a text area. This is just called text. So text equals text. We're going to add this to the window. And we need to pack this text. So text.pack. And now let's create a save file function. So at the top of our program, def save file. And then we're going to take file dialog and use the ask save as file function. And we're going to store the contents within file. File equals file dialog.ask save as file. Let's run this just to test it out. So we have our window, a save button, and this is our text area. We can type in multiple lines of text. Yay! And let's try and save this just to see what we have so far. So this will bring me to my desktop. It might bring you someplace else for your computer. So I'm just going to save this as test file. Now with this drop-down menu, save as type, there's nothing set up, so we'll need to do that manually. If we were to save this, and here's that test file on my desktop. So let's take a look at the properties. We did not list a file extension, so the type of file just says file. So we'll get to that later on in this video. And if we were to open this with a program like Notepad, well, it's currently empty. That's because we need to write some text to this file. So let's do that next. Let's store all of the text from our text area to a variable. Let's call this variable file text. File text equals, and then we need to get all of the text from our text area. So text.get, and we're going to list the starting index as well as the ending index for this function. So we're going to begin at 1.0. That is the beginning of this text area. And the ending, we can just put end. And then we need to convert all of this into a string. So let's surround this with str. And then we can store all of the text from our text area within this variable file text. And now we just need to write our text to this file. So file.write. And we're going to pass in file text. And then it's a good idea to close your files when you're done using them. So file.close. And let's try this again. Hello, my name is Bro. Let's save this. I'll call this hello and click save. And we still can't save as type, so we'll work on that next. Let's go to my desktop. Here's that test file that we created. I'm going to open this with Notepad, and it has all of the text that we added to that text area. Now let's list some available file extensions that we can have the user save this file as. So let's begin by setting the default extension. So default extension, and let's set this to a text file that is .txt. And then we can list all of the available file types. So file types, and we're going to place these within a set of straight brackets, and I'll just separate these line by line. So let's begin with a plain text file. So this will take two strings. The first is the message that will appear within that save as type drop-down menu. So let's place text file, and the second string, the file extension, and that is .txt. Then let's add another. Let's say HTML. So I'm going to copy this and paste it, and let's say HTML next.